Oh, hi, friends. It's Krista Elizabeth, and of course, I'm here with my friend Peaches the Squirrel. We just came in from being outside, and it's the beginning of March here in Nova Scotia where we live, and there's snow on the ground. And I was telling Peaches, you know what? Here, it's the start of a new season. Yes, and you said, well, it's not spring yet, and winter's not over. So how can it be a new season? And I said, well, we just began Lent yesterday. Yesterday was Ash Wednesday, and that began the church season of Lent. So what is Lent? Oh, and it reminds you that you lent me a book. Well, it's a little bit different than that. Lent is a season in the church where, sort of on purpose, we take some time to just get ready for Easter, because Easter is coming soon. And Lent always sort of starts on a different day. It sort of depends on where the moon is. But this year it began at the beginning of March. Yes. And Lent is 40 days. 40 days, it begins on Ash Wednesday and goes all the way up to the Saturday before Easter. And it counts 40 days without counting the Sundays. Why don't you count the Sundays? Well, because the Sundays are like little Easters on the way, days where we can celebrate, have Sabbath and feast and enjoy. So what do we do the rest of the time? Well, Lent is sort of like a time for spiritual house cleaning and life house cleaning. You know, we clean our houses, and sometimes we get everything in order and get ready for spring. Well, we're sort of getting our hearts and our lives in order and getting ready for Easter, and to celebrate that, you know, that Jesus died for us on the cross, but then he rose again from the dead. And sometimes it's just sort of good to do a good old check and inventory and see how we're doing. Yeah. Oh, you know about Lent because you've heard about people who give up chocolate for Lent. Well, yes, because chocolate at one time was a very expensive treat. So people would give up those extra special treats and make an extra special treat for themselves of spending more time with Jesus. And maybe if they gave up chocolate, they would take the money that they would have spent on chocolate and they would give it to people in need. Lent is often has people focus on prayer, have people focus on almsgiving, which means giving to those who are in need, and fasting. Yes, Peaches says she likes to go fast, but it's a different kind of fasting. It's fasting in that you give up eating. Like every morning we have breakfast, which means break the fast, because all night we didn't eat. We were fasting, we weren't eating. And then we break the fast in the morning. But in Lent, people sometimes fast even more. They'll pick a whole meal to fast, or they'll fast from having maybe something, a treat that they like. They might fast from being on social internet or playing, you know, a little less video games and take away something special, because they're fasting, they're giving up something they like so they can spend more time with Jesus. So that's sort of what fasting is. And people can pick many things, and what you may fast for that takes up your time and energy may not be what takes up someone else's time and energy. And sometimes instead of taking away something, so people add something. They add, I'm going to add being more kind and generous. So sometimes people do it that way too. Yeah, Lent is a time just to reflect, sort of see how you're doing. And it's 40 days because it sort of reminds us of Jesus spent 40 days in the desert, before he began his ministry. And he fasted for no food for those 40 days. And that is a special time to be with God. It was a season of self-discipline and giving up things and just connecting with God. Yeah, that does sound cool. And I think we all can connect more with God, because God's the one who loves us. And I think sometimes we forget who we really are when we don't have time to be with God or to be in God's word. So those are some things people do. They pray more. If that's how they connect with God, maybe they walk in nature more because they go on a walk every day to connect with God. They make a point of, I hope we always read our Bible, but sometimes we let that slip. And so in Lent, we're like, oh, I got to get back to those things. Basically, Lent reminds us to get back to essentials and what really matters. And connecting with God really matters. You know, sometimes at Lent, people think of the verse as a verse in the book of Joel. He was a prophet, and he spoke to God's people and spoke and said, this is what God says. God says, return to me with all of your heart. And sometimes we get busy and we just give God part of our heart. So it's sort of like, oh, let's get back to what matters, giving God our whole selves. And Joel went on to say, give me all your heart for God, and come with fasting, weeping, and mourning. Oh, you don't want to weep and be sad? Well, sometimes when we come to God and we come back and we realize, ooh, I've been doing some things that I don't want to do. I've been thinking some things I don't want to think. And so when we come back to God, the weeping and mourning is just sort of a way of showing we're sad. And some people really do weep and mourn, or some people just know that attitude of, oh man, I'm sorry, God. I messed up. It's that sorry attitude. But also not just sorry, but I'm sorry and I want to get back right again. Yeah, it makes us sad when we're far away from a friend for a while, and we don't want to be far away from the friend that God is to us. And so it's just like saying, I'm going to come back. So sometimes people just like sort of look in their lives and say, God, what's going on with me? What do I need to change? Maybe we were doing things we didn't realize. Maybe we didn't realize we're being sort of snippy with our sister, or that, we're not sort of being nice to that kid that not everybody likes at school. Or maybe we're just, not being quick to say, hey, mom and dad, how can I help? Can I be there for you? Or maybe with COVID, some of us haven't been connecting with church, and now that things are going to open, what a great time to come back to Lent, to come back to what really matters, to God and our friends, our family at church. Yeah. Well, I know a little song that's sometimes it's of a Bible verse that sometimes I think about in Lent, because Lent is, as I said, it's a time to think and check in. And this is Psalm 139, 23 to 24. And it says, search me, O God, and know my heart. So Lent's a time to come to God and say, let me know how I'm doing. Check me out, God. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. And God, see if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. We just want to check in with God so we can get back to where we want to be, and to be on a good foundation and a good connection with God again if we've ever become disconnected. Yeah, Lent is a great season, and we do need that. Well, I'm going to sing our verse. It goes, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offense in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Yeah, you want to sing with me too? Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offense in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. You're right, Peaches. Lent is just getting back to where we want to be, in case we've gotten off course. We need to do that sometimes, don't we? Yes. Well, while we have our hats on, maybe we should go out and make some snow angels, or play in the snow a bit. Would you like to? Yes. And we'll go and listen, because I think there's birds singing out there that are getting back, because spring is coming too. So we're in an in-between season in Mother Nature, but we're in a new season too. We're in Lent. Well, bye, everybody. We'll see you again. Blessings.